Hello, accountants. We are entering into Unit 10, the final unit for this semester. Woohoo! And this is the Section 2 assignment, Introduction to Partnerships. And actually, with this assignment, what I want to do is start with Part 4. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here to Part 4 because it looks at the ratios and how to determine what fractions we're talking about when we look at these ratios. Because some of you have been struggling with this on what exactly 3 to 1 means or 5 to 3 to 1. So I want to go over that first because the rest of the assignment kind of uses some of these ratios and fractions. So the instructions tell us that we need to determine the fractions in order to show each partner's share of net income. So we're talking about partnerships, and we're talking about what each partner has contributed to the business to determine their share then of the net income. So for instance, if a partner's share, if there's two partners and their share is 3 to 1, how you can determine a fraction out of this is it's actually pretty simple. So what you do is you add the numbers together to get what your bottom number is going to be, or the denominator for those of you that are math whizzes. And so our bottom number of our fraction is going to be 4 because we add 3 plus 1. So that gives us, we know the fraction we're working with is over 4. And so then this tells us because there's only two numbers here, we know we're only working with a partnership of 2 people. So the first partner is getting 3. We just put the first number of our ratio over our denominator. So the first partner is getting a share of 3/4 of the profit, and the second partner then is getting a share of 1/4 of the profit. Okay, so again, we add these numbers together, and then we just use that first number over the denominator to find the share of partner 1, and then that second number over our denominator for partner 2. Okay, and let's just do one more together real quick. So again, this looks like this partnership has 3 different partners because we've got 3 different numbers here. So again, first we add them together, so it looks like we're working with a fraction, the denominator of 9. And so the first partner is going to have 5/9 ownership. The second partner is going to have 3/9 ownership. And the last partner has 1/9 ownership. So you can either leave it into fractions like this, or if you're I'm kind of OCD when it comes to fractions, and so if I see it can be taken down a little further, I know this can be broken down to 1/3. So you can go ahead and leave it as either 3/9 or 1/3, whichever way you please. And anyway, that's just a simple, quick way of how to determine these ratios into fractions. Add the numbers up to get your denominator, and then each one over the denominator represents the amount of share each partner gets in the business. So that is part 4 of this assignment. And now that we know how to do those ratios and fractions, we can go through the rest of the assignment. So back up to part 1. Okay, in part 1, our directions tell us, us and our best friend, Walters, operate an ice cream shop at a local mall. We agreed to divide the profit and losses based on capital investments made by each of you. So we need to calculate the share of profit and loss to each partner. Okay, so after reading the text, you should know that your share of income and loss, a lot of times businesses decide to base it on how much you have invested in that company. So it looks like we have invested $25,000 into this company, and Walter has invested $50,000 into this company. So our first task is to find what's the percentage of investment by each partner. Show your calculation. So to find the percentage of each investment, you're going to need to we're going to have to find the total investment into the business and then take each individual's investment divided by the total. So let's do our investment first. Okay, so our total investment, again, like I said, we're going to add what both investments were together. So we have a total investment of $75,000. So we're going to take what we invested divided by that $75,000 to find. And then just to kind of refresh how to determine fractions with you guys. So when we take 25,000 divided by 75,000, we get 0.333333. Okay, so now it asks us to find the percentage though. So once we find our decimal, we take that number times 100 to get our percentage. So we have 33.3, you can just leave it at 33.3%. And then you'll do the same type of calculation to find Walter's investment. So make sure you complete that to find Walter's percentage. So then we need to find what is our share of the profit. Okay, so when we look at our own share, this is pretty simple. We're going to look at the net income, that's our profit, and we're going to take it times our percentage of share to find the dollar amount of our share. So we take 62,000, I'm showing my work here, times 33.3% gives me, and I can't really do that kind of math in my head, some of you might be able to. Okay, there's a common error that a lot of you guys make, and I just made it myself. So instead of taking it times 33.3, I should be taking it times 0.333 to get, since I'm taking it times the decimal. So that gives me 20,667 if I round it to the nearest dollar. And then again, you'll have to find the same type of math to find Walter's investment and what his share of net income will be. And then you need to calculate if there's a net loss, which partner, me or Walter, is going to have the larger share of the loss. Okay, so once you determine, that should be pretty easy, once you determine how much each person has invested in that company and who's going to have to eat a larger part of that loss. So that is part one. Then part two of this assignment. So now we're looking at different businesses that have partnerships, and each partnership decided to divvy up their shares differently. So in business one, we can see that there are two partners and they just decided to split everything equally. So they must have equal investment into this business. So you'll need to calculate the distribution of net income for each partner in each business. So in business one, we're working with a net income of $40,000. So you're going to have to decide how to equally divide that by two partners. Shouldn't be too difficult. Business two, and you'll see I have like something set up for each business here. So make sure you're showing your work again. And so put down the net income for each business and then what each partner's share is for each business and how you came up with that amount. In business two, we have a net income of $84,000 and there's a fractional share of 2/3 and 1/3. So one partner has 2/3 the share, the other partner has 1/3 the share. So divide out how much each of them should earn in that net income. And our business three, we see has $24,000 in net income. So now it gives us that ratio, which we worked with before. So we know that this 3:1 is the same as, we should have a denominator of 4, because 3 plus 1 is 4. And then one partner's got 3/4, and the other partner's got 1/4. So work with those fractions. And then business 4 has 3 partners that you're going to have to divvy the net income between. And same with business 5. They're dividing it equally by 3 partners. So you're going to have to pull out your calculators, do some math to determine what each partner's share is in a dollar amount. Show your work again on that one. And then part 3. In part 3, we're looking at, again, calculating the shares, and then we're going to put in a journal entry. So in this one, Mary and Nancy start a partnership, FineFit Incorporated, and share losses based on capital basis. So that means they're based on what they've invested. Mary contributed a capital balance of $35,000, whereas Nancy's capital contribution was $45,000. So Nancy's got a little bit more invested. The partnership agreement states that both partners have to share the net profit or losses based on their capital. The first year loss of FineFit Incorporated is $28,500. So we need to show our calculations on dividing the loss. So what you're going to have to do first is we're going to find the total amount of investment into FineFit Incorporated. Then you're going to want to find Mary's percentage of investment by taking her investment divided by total investment. Then you're going to find Nancy's capital or Nancy's investment the same way. So her investment of $45,000 divided by the total investment. That's going to give you the percentage then to find out what to take times your loss. So then you need to tell me what's Mary's share of the loss and then what's Nancy's share of the loss. And then when we are posting journal entries, we'll be working with Mary's capital, Mary's capital and Nancy's capital. So in a partnership, each partner has their own capital account. So we're going to be deducting from each of those. So use your reference guide that I sent out a while ago in order to determine which side I will be deducting these from our capital accounts. And then we also need to, the other account we're going to be working with is income summary. So while we are accounting for this loss, we are deducting it from our capital, and then we will also be working with income summary. So I've probably already said too much as I've laid out kind of what your journal should look like, but make sure you get those amounts calculated correctly. Again, show your work, and then journalize it correctly. Remember, our debits should equal our credits, and you should be good to go. So that is part 3, and we already looked at part 4 with calculating those ratios. So that is it for this assignment. If you have any questions, please let me know.